Thank you, Chair. London face significant challenges after the referendum that hasn't yet subsided. Many businesses say the uncertainty caused is damaging the UK's competitiveness and making us a less attractive destination for investment and talent. The 1 million Londoners who are EU citizens living and working in London worry about their future status. Time prevents me going through everything we've done, so this isn't an exhaustive answer, but to mention some of the key work we've done over the last 2 years. I launched the award-winning London is Open campaign to showcase to the world that the capital remains as open to international talent, trade and investment as ever. I've travelled alongside delegations from my international business programme to Canada, the US, India and Pakistan, forging new business links and banging the drum for London. I've also provided additional funding to London and partners to expand significantly its overseas footprint in 5 additional key markets of Paris, Berlin, Bangalore, Shenzhen and Chicago. My Deputy Mayor for Business, Rajesh Agrawal, and I have met with different businesses from across London to learn what they need from the final deal to protect their jobs, investment and growth. I've also convened a panel of experts spanning different sectors of London's economy to advise me and inform my position on the host of issues Brexit poses for London's economy. In addition to publishing a detailed response to the government's Brexit white paper, I have meetings with the Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, David Davis. Most recently, I met with him on Monday to ensure the government doesn't shy away from the challenges there are. I've also given evidence to the Exiting the European Union Select Committee, and I'm appearing before the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Select Committee next week. I called on the government to agree on early status quo transition period to give businesses greater certainty. I lobbied them to immediately guarantee all EU citizens will be entitled to remain in the UK after Brexit. I've lobbied the government to ensure the UK's continued access to important European programmes for London's higher education and cultural sectors continue. In January, I published independent economic analysis that we commissioned, which showed that crashing out of the single market and customs union could hit the economy and lead to 90,000 fewer jobs in London. The best way to avoid this risk and to protect London and the UK economy is to negotiate a deal which keeps us in the single market and customs union. I'll continue to press this case with the government. And most recently, yesterday, I met with the European Parliament's representatives in the Brexit negotiations, G. Verhofstadt, to discuss a range of issues.
Thank you for that reply. Would you agree that the Prime Minister has shown herself to be more concerned about managing the deep euro splits within the Conservative Party than she is in getting a good deal from the EU? And as it looks like we're heading for a hard Brexit by default, as the government can't agree on anything, what contingency plans are you putting in place, bearing in mind that we're scheduled to leave the UK in just 9 months?
One of the concerns that I have is, as a consequence of the Prime Minister leading in her party's interest rather than the national interest, we could fall off the cliff edge and have an extreme hard Brexit. The bad news is a lot of the powers are with national government, not with cities, regions, let alone the Mayor of London. So one of the things we're doing is continuing to lobby the government to make sure they understand what our needs are. You'll be aware the first part is the withdrawal, second part is future arrangements with the government, and we'll continue to work with the government and also meeting key stakeholders in London. Most recently, I was at the Life Sciences Crick Institute during London Tech Week. They're concerned about an extreme hard Brexit. The good news, though, is the Europeans don't want an extreme hard Brexit. It's not in their interest, nor is it in ours. So I'm hoping that cooler, calmer heads will prevail and we'll have a decent deal with the EU.
The 14th YouGov poll in a row, going back to last summer, has found that the majority of people in the country now believe it's wrong to leave the EU. Do you think the time is coming when there should be a second referendum to either approve or reject any agreement, if there is one, and to allow the option of staying in the EU? And will you support the March for a People's Vote this Saturday afternoon?
Okay, look, I campaigned for us to remain in the EU. I'm still heartbroken that we've, as a country, chosen to leave the EU. I stand by the results of the referendum, as unhappy as I am by those results of the referendum. We can explain why people voted to leave the EU, what they were voted for, and all the rest of it. But I think the referendum, was close, but a win's a win. The key thing, though, is to make sure the deal the government does right by our country. Nobody voted to become poorer. We're going to make sure the deal is one that benefits UK jobs, growth and prosperity, and I'll continue to be an advocate for a good deal for London and our country. And the point I'd make is this. The government's got to realise if London struggles and suffers, so does the country. Similarly, if the country suffers and struggles, so does London. And so it's in the government's interest, if they want Brexit to work, to listen to what we're saying in London. Of course, I can envisage a scenario where there could be a second referendum, but let's cross that bridge if and when it comes.
Thank you.
Okay. Member Curtin.